Further north, where my people mainly lived, the sun wouldn't rise for 67 days. I was glad for the sun we got. Dad was weighing gear for his hunters, and I greeted my group and started the weigh-in as well. Next was my pre-flight check. Then my workday was off and a roar of engine noise as we lifted into the air. I loved to fly, and my cub was the closest substitute to my raven wings. Super cubs also loved to fly. Their large cloth-covered wings and light build actually made it harder to land than to take off. Bush pilots often call them homesick angels, since they wanted to reach towards the heavens. After work, I drove home. As I turned onto Minnesota Drive, the phone rang. I didn't recognize the number. I almost didn't answer, but I was in a good mood. At least good enough to deal with a spammer. "Hello?" I answered. "Hey, babe," Fletcher replied. I breathed a small sigh of relief. I didn't really like my other boyfriend, Spam Risk, but he sure called a lot. "Hi." My voice brightened, and I sat up straighter in my truck. "What's up? Is everything all right? Have you seen any problems at your house?" I asked. I worried that his house was bugged, but he had to be able to sniff that out. I just didn't know if he'd bothered to do so. "Well," my breath caught and my heart sped up. Something was wrong. "What's wrong?" I quickly barked out. "Could you get your dad and come over soon?" "Dad? Are you sure?" I asked. "I am sure. I think you'll want him in on this one." I pulled over and flipped around. "Are you going to tell me what's going on?" "I caught someone in my house," he said. "What do you mean, someone? A human? Shouldn't you call the police?" "Not human," he answered. "Just come quickly and bring your dad. Is he done for the day?" "Yeah, we just finished and we're heading home. Would you call him, please?" "Okay, I'll call him. We'll see you soon." I hung up and called Dad. He agreed to come to Fletcher's house. I drove to Fletcher's deep in thought. How did he catch someone? Had they tried to hurt him? Capture him? Terror at that thought caused me to sweat. My hands grew slippery on the wheel. They were still watching Fletcher. How was he going to handle this? Was he going to leave? What were we going to do with the supernatural he'd caught? What was it? I sped up. Dad had been partway home before I got him on the phone. Why did Fletcher want him to come? I was mystified. He was also upset at Dad and the secrets he was refusing to share. This must be big. Although we were about the same distance from Fletcher's, even if they were in separate directions, Dad still wasn't there when I pulled in. I hugged the left side of the driveway to give Dad space to park and let myself into Fletcher's house. He wasn't on the main floor, so I looked out back. No one. There wasn't a second floor, and the basement was unfinished, but I went downstairs to check. I could hear voices as I climbed down the stairs. It was one of those basements with a few bare bulbs hanging from basic light fixtures. Whoever had owned the house before Fletcher had done some rough framing for rooms, and there was a toilet and sink, but no walls enclosing them.